Sr.'s twin brother, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you talk to the jury a little bit about who he was as a brother?
Well, we were so close. We looked out for each other. Him having a wife, me having a wife. We were so close. It meant so much to each other growing up, even married. You know, I called him, he hung his life up. If he called me, I hung my life up. They understood that us talking to each other was more important than anything. We did that sometimes 10 times a day. With me living in Lake Charles, Louisiana, I went there to start pastoring now 37 years ago at church, and so that's where I've been. And so most of our conversational lives has been back and forth. We would want to see each other. I think one of our main things is growing up, even after I left here, is the fact that we still celebrate our birthdays together. And so his family would come and meet my family in Beaumont, Texas, Papados, and that's where we celebrate birthday every year. And it's strange because my family can't get me to celebrate a birthday yet since he has been deceased, because I don't see a reason to celebrate him without him. And they said, you're not being fair to yourself, but then I feel like if I celebrate, I'm not being fair to him. And so it's just been very difficult because we've been so close for so many years and done so many things together. And I know it's not the same for all twins, and it's not. It's not the same for all twins. But at least, like I said, for me and my twin, we did everything together. And it's been that way since the day we were born. To junior high school, we ran track. To senior high school, we ran track. To college, we ran track. I started preaching maybe about, 4 years before he did. I started pastoring about 2 years before he started pastoring. Our dad had been a pastor for about 29 years in the city of Houston, so it's a legacy of our family of preaching. And I think one of the most disheartening things about his death, and I was sharing this with Ms. Bethany, is that 2 months after his death, he and I was set to receive the pastor's or the preacher's lifetime award in Los Angeles, California. And so all the family bought tickets, went to Los Angeles. My sister-in-law received his Tiffany's Cup for a lifetime award as a pastor, for something that we had been working towards for 30 years. And he gets killed 2 months before receiving that award. That really hurt it, really did. A few months prior to that, he and I had received honorary doctorate degrees from a seminary university in Apple Valley, California. So, it's what our lives were. We attended the same expository preaching conference for 31 straight years. It's what we did. And when I first received it, can I just share this, because this was really key for me. The morning I found out he was dead, it was that Saturday. He was killed that Friday, the 24th. The 25th, we found out that he had been killed. And it was so difficult for me because as pastor, of course, I was walking out of my church in Lake Charles, Louisiana to get in my car that morning at 10:30 to go preach a funeral. And I'm being told that somebody has killed my twin. And I've got to go in here and console the family when I needed console. But yet, because of the commitment I had to my job, I went there and preached anyway, knowing the burden I was under. And so that's what you kind of get with this family. I tell people, my mother and father didn't raise perfect children, but they didn't raise lazy children. We take what we do serious. And so this family, it's a loss for us. It's a real loss for us to not have him anymore. He was our second death in 2022. We just buried my mother in March. He gets killed in June. Our oldest brother dies in November. All in that phase of time. 3 meaningful people to this family who are gone. And that's really all of what we've been having to deal with, not just his death. We have to deal with the fact that we lost 3 family members all at one time. But this one hurts the most because, and I don't want to go back to this and do this, it was so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary, it hurts. Do I still cry 3 years later? Yes, I do. I've counseled people for 37 years as a pastor. I'm still in counseling. Somebody's got to counsel me now. And people keep telling me, just get over it. You're a pastor, you know about that, just get over it. And anybody that thinks it's that simple and easy to do, maybe you haven't lost what I lost. Because if you lose what I lost, you understand it's not that easy to get over.
Absolutely. I just want to follow up with you a little bit about, you talked about how both of you were pastor. Currently are a pastor. He obviously was a pastor. And it sounds like your dad was a pastor as well.
Yes.
And since his death, what has been your role in East Bethel Missionary Baptist Church?
Our youngest brother actually pastors that church now, Pastor Deshawn Longmire. When my dad passed some years ago, the church that he pastored here somewhat split. And I actually took that church and started a church here. And so I was preaching some Sundays in Lake Charles, because I still had evening services in that church. When I would come in and preach at the church here in the mornings on Sunday morning, I'd rush back and preach at 6 p.m. at the church in Lake Charles. And I did that every month for 9 years. And so when the dad came with my brother, and Reverend John became a pastor, I took Lionel Church here and merged it in with East Bethel. And so I'm still here every other Tuesday teaching, morning Bible study for the seniors. And I come here and preach at East Bethel every third Sunday morning. I don't care what's going on. I'm going to be here third Sunday mornings at East Bethel. Because I cannot see not having a tie to the church that meant so much to the life of my brother. I can't see myself disconnected from that. He wouldn't want me to do that, and so I can't see myself doing that. So I'm still very connected with that church, with teaching Bible studies and with preaching every month.
And that's to keep his legacy alive,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Now, are y'all from Houston?
We're not from Houston. We were born in Lake Charles, Louisiana,
Okay.
August 2nd, 1963. And my father, we moved to Houston when we were 2. My father was working for the Port of Houston, and of course he won the financial secretary job for the Longshoremen's Union. And so we've been here since we were 2 years old. And so all of our schooling, everything was here for us. Anybody who knows anything about being identical twins, your popularity grows real fast because people get fascinated with watching twins, and so singing in a choir, we were very gifted, thank God, to be able to sing a little bit. So singing in the church choir all the time, and then we were very good with track runners, and so on both sides of that, people got to know who we were from just what we were blessed to be able to do. And so that's how we grew up in Houston, and then my brother's children were excellent football players and stuff, and so that just really popular, made the family popular with my nephews and what they did. Especially when the one got drafted and went to the NFL, it really made the family popular. So.
Yeah, that'll do it. So, where did y'all go to high school?
Houston, Ross at Sterling, so we went to high school at. And then, of course, we graduated out there and had a scholarship to go run track at Stephen F. Austin State University.
Okay. And you've talked a little bit about, what birthdays are like, obviously. What's it like with other holidays without it?
Honestly, I don't celebrate any holidays right now. For 3 years I haven't gone anywhere for holidays. I my children and grandchildren come over, cook and I feed them, and that's as much as I do on a holiday. I just haven't for 3 years been in a holiday spirit. Because our family is close-knitted family. And so we did everything, we celebrated things together. and we miss a valuable piece of our family. It just takes away the option to just even want to do it, to be honest with you.
Permission to approach, Your Honor.
Granted.
I'm approaching you with what's marked as State's Exhibit 170. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Does it look like it's been altered in any way?
No.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 170, tendering to defense.
No objection. All right, State's 170 is admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
So y'all were identical.
Right there.
I think that's what that picture shows. Tell the jury about this picture.
You know, it looks like we're at one of his banquets, is what it looks like. His church would give him during his, every year he celebrated his anniversary as a pastor at the church. I would come over and speak for the banquet, and we would always try to do our best, as we have always done all our lives, dress alike. So this looks like one of those banquets that they were having for him, and that's what that picture basically is. One of the happy times. Yes.
Oh yeah, you can tell. Very happy. At this time, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
All right, any cross?
We're very sorry for your loss, sir.
Thank you.
That's the latest.
All right. Sir, you may step down. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, State, call your next witness.
At this time, Your Honor, State calls Ronald Mouton.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear affirm the testimony you may now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you so much. Have a seat. And make sure you speak directly to the microphone. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Mouton.
Good afternoon.
Can you state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, Ryan Mouton, RYANMOUTON.
Okay. And can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you knew Ronald Mouton Sr.?
It's my father, not only my physical father, but also my spiritual father.
And your brother said that there's 4 siblings, is that right?
Absolutely.
Where do you fall in the order?
I'm the youngest.
Okay. So talk to us a little bit about what it was like growing up with your dad.
Well, most of these people know my dad called me Pookie. That was just his nickname for me. Me being the youngest, of course. Kind of let me have my way a lot of the times, and my siblings didn't like that.
I am familiar with this dynamic. So, talk to us a little bit about, there's some talk about someone going to the NFL. Who was that?
I was drafted to the Tennessee Titans in 2009 in the 3rd round.
And so your dad was there for that for you?
Well, what's crazy is he's so committed to his church and to the word that I was drafted on a Sunday, and instead of being at the house where we were for the draft, he was at church and he was preaching a sermon. And I guess when I got drafted, I think him and my mom were at church. They announced it that I had been drafted, and so I mean that was just his commitment to his church. And so we ended up celebrating later on that day, but that was just who he was.
And how long were you with the Titans?
I was there for 4 years.
Okay. And so during that time, were you injured?
No, yes. Actually, on August 2nd, 2011, that was my 3rd year. We was in training camp, and I was calling home to, I guess he thought I was calling home to tell him happy birthday, but I really was calling home to tell him that I had torn my Achilles, and I would be out for the complete year. And this is coming off of a year before that I had cracked my fibula and I had missed 8 games. So here I am missing 8 games, and then I'm in camp and I win the starting nickel job and I tear my Achilles. So that was a very rough time for me because I didn't know where my career was going, and I leaned on him so much through the rehab process. If anybody's ever torn Achilles, you understand how hard that is. I mean, you're talking 9-10 months of rehab, and it's like learning how to walk all over again. But here I am at the highest level of the game, trying to find will I ever play again. And it just, every day I thought that I was making progress, it would be a setback. And for me, it was, I could call him and not only hear words of encouragement as a man, but I can also get the spiritual part of it, that which was helping me, because sometimes when you get down, you need to hear something that can help lift your spirits, not just and man, hey, that part of my life, I thank him so much,
And so you're the baby.
I'm the youngest.
Fair enough. I'm sure to some people in here you are the baby. Exactly. That was what I meant. So having a father who is the head of a pastor in a church, did he take the lead on many spiritual things for your family, like baptisms and things of that nature?
Absolutely. My dad baptized probably all my siblings. Probably not all my siblings, actually, because my grandfather baptized my brother, I believe. But he baptized us. I do know that he married all of them. That was another thing that I always said, if I was to get married, I would want my dad to marry me, but that's no longer possible.
Yeah, so he can no longer be that person in your family.
No.
What's it been like with your mom and your siblings?
I almost feel like now, I think I probably have become my mom's boyfriend. And I understand it because my dad was a provider. He really was. And my mom didn't have any worries because anything that she needed done, my dad did it. My mom didn't even shop for clothes for herself because my dad did that. And now it's like, I guess because I'm retired and I understand that my siblings have kids and they work and all that. She might call my phone about 5 times a day, and there's something that she needs. But that's what she did to my dad, and my dad, did those things for her. and now. And for me, it's like I understand his role a little bit more because now I get those calls.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Deepest condolences, sir. We pass the witness, Judge.
All right. So you may step down. Thank you. All right, State, call your next witness.
At this time, Your Honor, State calls Erica Bryant.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you may now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Good. Have a seat. Make sure you speak directly into the microphone. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Ms. Bryant.
Hi.
Can you state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Erica Bryant. That's E-R-I-K-A. Bryant, B-R-Y-A-N-T.
All right, Ms. Bryant. Can you tell the jury how you know Ronald Mouton Sr.?
He was my pastor. My husband and I moved here from Austin, Texas some years ago, and Pastor Mouton took a chance with my husband and hired him at the church to be a musician.
And did you also work for the church?
Yes, I was also on the praise team.
Okay. And so what does that entail?
It's singing, providing songs for the church. And anybody know Pastor Mouton knows that he could sing. He loves to sing. And if you go to church, you know, you're going to hear him singing. And not only hear him singing, but he was going to sing until the power of the Lord come down.
So talk to us a little bit about y'all's church community.
Pastor was a pastor for everybody. He loved everybody at the church. He's a man that you could go to for anything. My husband had to go to him for a lot. And people, the church and Sister Mouton knows that he's the reason why my husband and I stayed together. He was my husband. Counselor, we were having marital problems. And it was Pastor Mouton who taught him and told him to be the man that God called him to be, and to stand and be the man who God wanted him to be in his marriage.
So not only was he up there on Sundays preaching, but he was involved, is it fair to say he was involved individually with his parishioners?
100%. I lost my husband in 2020 to COVID. And Pastor Mouton and Sister Mouton, they were my leaning posts. Pastor Mouton actually talked with my kids and told my kids, your dad is gone, but you don't have to worry because you still have an earthly father here. And he told them, you call me at any time for anything. And he was just that type of man.
So how would you describe his heart?
A heart after God's own heart. He was a man that was after God's own. He would give you the shirt off his back. There was a time when my husband moved here. He didn't have a job. He only had the job from the church. And Pastor Mouton was always, Reverend Brian, you need anything? You can't have Sister Brian over there hungry. And he was just that. You could call on him for anything at any time. And he and Sister Mouton, they were always there.
So it sounds like the church provided spiritual guidance, but also was there in case anyone needed anything at the church.
Anybody. I don't care who you are. we would, at the church, we would often go off and do evangelism. We were going, not only, spreading the word, but we were giving out things to the community. They would have food drives at the church to where the community would just come and just give free food. This is the type of man that he was.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, any cross?
So sorry for your loss, ma'am. We passed the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. You may step down. All right, state call your next witness.
State calls Suzanne Mouton, Judge.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you will now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you so much. Go ahead and have a seat. And make sure you speak directly to the microphone. All right, whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Mrs. Mouton.
Good afternoon.
Can you state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Suzanne Mouton. It's SUZANNEMOUTON.
And can you tell the jury how you know Ronald Mouton Sr.?
He was my husband of 40 years. We met in high school. We dated 2 years and then was married 40 years.
And y'all had a family together?
We did. We had 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. And we raised them throughout their elementary, junior high, anyway, through school. Went to college, and everywhere that they went, we went. Very supportive. Definitely, I was a spoiled brat. As my son said, my husband did everything for me. Purchased my clothes, my shoes, everything. I didn't like shopping, so he took joy in that. And so he purchased everything for me. And when I would come home sometimes, the clothes would just be laid out on the bed with shoes matching. So he always knew what he liked seeing me in. So I took joy in that too.
And so y'all lived in Houston. You raised your family in Houston, correct?
We did, but for like 4 years we lived in Katy. And after the youngest one, I dare not say baby, after the youngest one graduated from high school and went to college, we moved back into Houston, closer to the church. So we were commuting from Katy all the way back into Houston for the church.
And, I actually realized I don't think I asked anyone this. Where is the church in Houston?
5702 Calhoun, near Griggs.
So it's close to where this incident happened?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And so after all of once you were empty nesters, you moved back into the city?
We did. After the youngest one graduated high school, we moved back into Houston. They were in college. We were totally enjoying our lives without them.
Yeah, I can imagine. So obviously, y'all were very involved in East Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. Can you talk to the jury a little bit about what both of your roles were in the church and what part it played in your lives?
Okay. So, as my son said, he was a pastor for 32 years, and for those 32 years, I walked right by his side, and I put my life on hold for him because I never wanted to interfere in his ministry, and I knew how important that was to him to do exactly what God had called him to do. And so I always look at it as when God called him, he also called me to be his helpmate, you know, in ministry. And so I wanted to make sure that he was available for them. And not just that, I was very involved in the church, whether I did ushering, whether I was with the youth, whether I was in the choir. I was very involved in church and loved it. But at this point, I don't go there. It's very hard for me to walk in and not see him. So I stepped away, and I'm at another church at this point, but it's not that I don't love the people that's there, because they're awesome people. They are awesome people. But I know that I had to do what was best for me to heal. So it's not that I didn't want to be there, or don't want to be there, but I can't. It's too hard for me to deal with, too hard for me to walk in the church and not see them.
So you lost your husband that day, and then it sounds like as part of that community as well. Maybe not lost the community, but
Absolutely. My daily routine, my life was disrupted because of the change and what happened. So I'll never be the same. I'll never be able to, I ain't gonna say never, but right now I can't do what I used to do. I'm not there yet.
what's it been like for you and your children?
Very hard. Anniversaries are hard. A couple of years after he passed, on our, what would have been our wedding anniversary, I was lying in the bed and I couldn't breathe. I had to sit up. I was having an attack. Because normally every year around our anniversary, we would go to New York and just enjoy one another. And of course, shop. He would shop, the drag queen shopping centers. But that was what we did, and that was what he wanted to do for the two of us, and especially for me. I almost had to tell him, look, I'm not going to another store. I don't want any more clothes. But that was just how giving he was, and how much he wanted to always take care of me, and to make sure that I had what he wanted me to have. As I stated earlier, spoiled brat. He cooked, he cleaned, he washed clothes, he washed cars, just did everything.
So would it be fair to characterize him as a caretaker?
Absolutely.
And it sounds like not just of you, but of the entire community. That he
Anybody who he knew that needed caring for, he cared for them. It could have been, and so often it was, someone that walked off, that just was walking on the streets, that came to the church. There was one young man that would come almost every day, take a shower, and he would provide them with, clothes, soap, towels. He would wash those towels to make sure that when that guy came back, that he would have a clean towel, because that's just how much he cared. It didn't matter, and he did not put him down at all. He wanted to make sure that, and that's all the guy wanted, was to take a shower. He didn't ask him for anything, and he made sure that when he did, because there was one young lady that was saying, no, he said, let him in. I know him. Let him take his shower. That's what he does every day.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Granted.
I'm approaching you with what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 171 through 174. You can just take a look at these. Do you recognize these?
All of them.
And they're fair and accurate representations?
Absolutely.
And they haven't been modified in any way?
No, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, State offers State's Exhibit 171 through 174, tendering to defense.
We have no objection, Judge.
All right, State's Exhibits 171 through 174 are admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Granted.
Okay, so I'm going to show you, first off, State's Exhibit 171. Can you tell the jury what's going on in this photo?
So the baby is Ronald Keith Mouton III. And so all of those are Ronald Moutons, right? So it's my husband and my son and his baby. So that was his birthday, his 1 year birthday party.
Okay. So it's 1, 2, and 3 in there.
1, 2, and 3.
Now, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 172.
We were on every year, our marriage ministry went on a cruise with the church. And so that was a picture from one of our cruises that we were on.
And this was through the church?
Yes, it was.
And so you go with other couples in the church? And
Yes, ma'am. Anyone who wanted to be a part of the marriage ministry, the doors was open, and whoever wanted to go on a cruise, we would go and enjoy ourselves. And that's just one of the pictures. We would always have certain clothes that we would wear, themes. So that was just one of them.
Now, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 173. Can you tell the jury what that's a photograph of?
It's his funeral. Actually, that was on a Friday night at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, where we had the pre-funeral, the wake or whatever. It was a celebration that we had that Friday night. Then the following day was the funeral at East Bethel.
And who's that speaking there?
Sheila Jackson Lee. She was a good friend of his.
Lastly, I'm just showing you State's Exhibit 174.
It's my husband, Ron Mouton Sr.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
And our deepest condolences, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Now you may step down.
Thank you.
All right, State, call your next witness.
Your Honor, no further witnesses, but I realize I need to reoffer all of the evidence from guilt innocence.
Okay. Anything else?
State rest.
All right. Would defense like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you. Although you did not give the verdict that we requested, you didn't come back in 5 minutes. You did think about your decision. We sincerely thank you for giving us time out of your life, for giving us time to consider your decision. Now, ladies and gentlemen, like we talked about in the beginning, that June 24, 2022 day was a day when two good people's lives came together. We lost one very good person. Now it's up to you to decide what to do with the other. Ladies and gentlemen, although you did not rule the way we asked, we do respect your verdict. Mr. Deshawn Longmire and his family have been waiting all this time, knowing that your decision would determine what happens. Okay. And at this time, Judge, we're ready to proceed.
All right, call your first witness.
We'd like to first call Mr. Deshawn Longmire.
All right.
But, Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure. A 10-15 minute break, how much time you need, and then we'll continue after you come back.
All right, for the jury.
All right, everyone may have a seat. All right, what we'll do is before they come back, he can go ahead and already be on the stand. I've already sworn him in. But I'm not going to take the shower.
Oh, no, I understand that.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we'll do. All right.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm going to step down just remember I told you 10-15 minutes. So I told you 10-15 minutes.
For the jury.
All right, thank you everyone. You may have a seat.
very much, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Longmire, are you the same Deshawn Longmire that has been the subject of this trial?
Yes, sir.
You do understand that the jury has found you guilty now of first-degree murder.
Yes, sir.
You understand now that for the rest of your life, you will be a convicted felon, something you've never been before.
Yes, sir.
Now, although, we didn't ask for the guilty verdict, do you respect the verdict of the jury?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for them to hand down the sentence they feel is appropriate?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Longmire, I wasn't the first lawyer that you had in this case, correct?
That's correct.
But when you did come talk to us and you told me what happened, of course there were different, avenues we could take about, defend this way, defend that way. But when you told me what happened, did we decide, okay, we're going to have to just come out and tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Now, while you've been dealing with this case, have you had certain bond conditions?
Yes, sir.
Were one of those bond conditions that you could not, no matter how much you wanted to, you could not contact or address the family of the complainants while this case was pending?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now that you're testifying, has there been something that you wanted to address to that family?
Yes, a lot. I first just want to apologize, and I know, but I know there's nothing I could do to change the situation, and if I could, I would. I made a mistake, and I hurt a lot of people, and I see that, and I know that, and I pray that God put forgiveness in your heart towards me, and and that God also just put love in your heart, restore your heart. I know that your hearts are broken, and I pray for healing in this situation, in this case. I want y'all to know that I love y'all, each and every single one of y'all, and I never meant to hurt anybody. I never meant for any of this to happen, and if I could change it, I would.
Mr. Longmire, how old are you?
26 years old.
How long had you been, you were working as an Uber driver when this happened, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been working as an Uber driver?
Since 2018, 2019, so like 5 years.
Now, was that all in Houston?
Yes.
Now, did you grow up in Houston or did you grow up somewhere else?
No, I grew up in Louisiana.
Now, who do you, I know you have your mother, correct?
Yes, sir.
What about your father?
I have him too.
And your stepfather?
I have him too.
Now, did y'all all grow up in Louisiana?
My mom, and my stepfather did. My dad lives in Memphis.
Okay. Now, sir, before this happened, what kind of education did you have?
I had a high school degree. You said before this happened?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a high school degree, and I also had certification in forklift, because I did a lot of warehouse jobs as well. So.
And since this happened, have you earned any degrees?
Yes, I have my associate's degree in business fundamentals.
Now you understand that a felony conviction may affect what kind of opportunities you have.
Yes, I understand that.
Now, before this case happened, did you attend a home church?
Before this case happened, yes.
And what church was that?
Lakewood.
Now, the bond conditions you've had on this case were very stringent. Is that correct?
Yes.
I believe you had a home confinement. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you were not able to travel, go to church, things like that.
No, I was not able to.
did you still find a way to pursue your religious upbringing?
Yes.
How was that?
Through online streams, online services, live services.
Now, we talked about your work history. We talked about your education. We talked about your religious background. Now, Mr. Longmire, are you married?
No, sir, I'm not married.
Have you, in fact, given a promise ring to somebody?
Yes, I did.
Now, what kind of plans did you have with, and what is your girlfriend's name?
Blanca.
Excuse me?
Blanca.
What kind of plans do you and Blanca have?
Marriage, love, some type of future.
And how old are you, Mr. Longmire?
26 years old.
And now, Mr. Longmire, are you ready to accept the decision of the jury? Now that you've been found guilty of murder, now it's up to the same jury to decide how much time you will do in prison. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to accept their decision?
Yes, sir.
That's the witness.
All right, any cross?
Nothing from the state judge.
Maybe you're from sir.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna ask you to step back into your deliberation room just briefly, and then we'll call you back as soon as we can.
All rise for the jury.
Mr. Longmire, stand up, please. Everyone may have a seat. Yes, Mr. Longmire, can go back to the council table. Here's another one.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, I have one right here too. No, that's good. We have several afloat right here. We're ready. We're ready.
All right, we're ready.
All right, everyone may have a seat. All right, defense, call your next witness, please.
The defense would call Mr. Delaney Shaw.
All right.
I'm sorry, DeLance Shaw.
Okay. Come on up. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you may now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat. And then make sure you speak directly into the microphone. You can move it around if you need to. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you very much, Robert. Sir, can you please state your name and spell your name for the record?
Delance Shaw, DELANCE SHAW.
Now, Mr. Shaw, what do you do for a living?
Houston firefighter,
And how long have you been a firefighter?
31 years.
31 years. Thank you for your service, sir. Now, Mr. Shaw, do you know the gentleman seated here to my right, Mr. Deshawn Longmire?
Yes.
For about how long have you known him?
About 7 years.
Now, what's your relationship to him? How do you know him?
Neighbors. His family lives next door to me.
Okay, so the next door neighbor.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Shaw, in the time that you have known Mr. Deshawn Longmire, do you feel like you've had a chance to get to know his character, what kind of person he is?
Yeah, in a short period of time that we interacted, yes.
Okay. How would you describe this young man who's been your neighbor for 7 years?
From what I gather, he's been a quiet, soft-spoken kid every time. He always was very cordial, speak when I would get home and see him outside.
Okay. Has he ever had a chance to interact or play with your children?
No, they're both too old to play. He's older than my son. My oldest son is 18, but he's interacted with them because my son was working for his mother. So they would, during 4th of July, go out and do fireworks, that kind of stuff. Just minor interactions, yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you being a fireman, you make sure they did that safely.
I stayed in the backyard.
Okay, sir. Now, sir, in the time that you've gotten to know Deshawn Longmire, do you feel that he is the kind of person that still has utility to society? Or is he the kind of person who should be put away in prison for as long as possible? What's your opinion about him?
To be a judge of his character of that nature, I would say it's hard to say to throw anybody away, but I would say, I mean, he's young enough to where whatever it is he can rehabilitate from. I don't think that his character shows that he's a bad person. You know, hasn't been doing, from my knowledge, hasn't been doing any number of criminal activity or anything of that nature since I've known him. He's never been in that type of trouble.
That's the witness, Judge.
All right, any quarrels?
Just briefly, Judge.
Okay.
So when you first testified, you said you'd had limited interaction with Mr. Longmire?
Correct.
Okay. So just kind of greeting him as next door neighbors, or?
Correct. I'm 52 years old.
Okay, fair enough. And just to be clear, do you know that he's been convicted by this jury of the offense of murder?
I do now.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect?
Just briefly, Judge.
Okay.
Sir, understanding that Deshawn Longmire was found guilty of murder, by this jury, does that change the opinion that you know of him?
No, it doesn't at this point.
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, any?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. You may step down. All right, defense, call your next witness, please.
Defense will call Mr. Carlos Manzano.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you may now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a seat. You can move that microphone around and make sure you speak directly into the microphone. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Okay, sir, can you please state your name and spell your name for the record?
It's Carlos Manzano, Carlos, last name Manzano.
And sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a local bondsman here in Harris County.
For how long have you been in the bonding business?
Like 30 plus years.
30 plus years. Okay, sir. Now, do you happen to be the bondsman that bonded Mr. Deshawn Longmire?
That is correct.
So, how long has he been on bond with your company?
Approximately about 3 years, going on 3 years.
Now, Mr. Manzano, when you bond somebody, do you take care to make sure to keep up with them and make sure that they're following their bond conditions?
Most definitely.
Have the bond conditions for Mr. Deshawn Longmire been really stringent, like home confinement and things like that?
Yes, they have.
How would you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, has he been someone responsible that has obeyed the bond conditions that he's been given, or has he been a problem for you?
No, he's been an excellent person to check in and do his obligation to the bonding company. And that I know he didn't break any kind of bond conditions to the court. But most definitely he's probably one of the clients that I can recall that never missed a beat. Most clients, they forget a check-in or something to that nature, and he always complied.
Now, in the time that you've been his bondsman, do you feel he's been more responsible than other people, or just average person?
More responsible than most, yes, sir.
That's the witness, sir.
All right, any quarrels? Okay.
So, hello, Mr. Manzano. We don't know each other, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so if you can just explain to the jury, when someone is out on a bond, there's money at stake, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if they violate a condition of their bond, they could lose a significant amount of money, is that correct?
That is correct.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect?
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you so much, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right, defense, call your next witness.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Defense will call Mr. Kevin Jones.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you may now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and have a seat. You can move that microphone around and make sure you speak directly into the microphone. All right, whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Sir, can you please state and spell your name?
Kevin Jones, Kevin Jones.
Okay. Now, Mr. Jones, what do you do for a living?
I'm into trucking. I have a number of trucks. I transport oil and gas.
Okay. Now, Mr. Jones, how do you know the gentleman seated here to my right?
He's my son.
He's your son. All right. May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to show you what we have labeled here as Defendant's Exhibits 1, 2, and 10. Do you recognize what's in those photographs?
Yes, I do.
And do they accurately depict what they are showing?
Yes.
Do they look like they've been changed or adjusted in any way?
No, sir. Not at all.
After tendering to opposing counsel, Judge, we move to admit Defendants 1, 10, and 2.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, so defendants 1, 2, and 10 are admitted.
Thank you, Judge. May I display these?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, sir. When we're looking here, defendants number 1, can you tell us who is in that picture?
Me, my wife, Deshawn, and his my wife's mother, Deshawn's grandmother.
Okay. So I assume Deshawn is a young one in that picture right there, correct?
Correct.
Do you know about how old he was at that time?
Maybe 8, 9, something like that. About 9.
Now, sir, I really appreciate the fact how you said you're his father. Just to be clear for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is he your biological son?
No, sir.
But I still see you didn't hesitate to say you were his father.
No, sir.
How long, sir, have you been in his life? How long?
15, 16 years.
Okay. Now, I'll show you what's labeled as Defense Exhibit number 2. Who's there in that picture?
Deshawn and I.
Okay. About how old was he in this picture, if you remember?
16, 17.
Okay.
16.
In the time that you've known Deshawn Longmire, do you feel like you've gotten to know what kind of person he is?
Yes.
And here we are showing Defense Exhibit number 10. Can you tell us who all is in this picture?
Me, my wife, my biological daughter, and Deshawn.
Okay. Now, sir, in the time that you have raised Deshawn Longmire, have you raised him to be a troublemaker? describe him as a son? Has he been an obedient, responsible type of son, or someone that's given you problems throughout your life?
Very respectable. Very respectable. Never got in any trouble whatsoever. Very wise. He was very wise for at a young age. Very smart and intelligent. Very.
Now, sir, you understand that your son, Deshawn Longmire, was found guilty of first-degree murder by this jury.
Yes.
Now, you understand that now it's up to the same jury to decide how much time your son will do in prison. You understand
Yes.
this? Sir, do you feel that your son, Deshawn Longmire, is the type of person who still has use to society and to your family? Or do you feel he's someone that's not needed anymore, that can just be put away as long as possible?
Yes, everyone deserves a second chance, and he has use. Definitely, yes. Yeah, I mean, you want to raise a family also. You want to be a father also. You want to get married also, just like anybody else would.
We pass the witness, Judge.
All right, any cross?
Nothing for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you so much, sir. You may step down. All right, call your next witness.
Your Honor, defense will call Ms. Blanca de la Cruz.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you may now give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Have a seat. You can move that microphone around. Make sure you speak directly into the microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Now, ma'am, can you please state your name and spell your name for the record?
Yes. Blanca de la Cruz, B-L-A-N-C-A. De la Cruz is D-E-L-A-C-R-U-Z.
Now, ma'am, how do you know the gentleman seated here to my right?
He's my boyfriend.
I know you say he's only a boyfriend, but have you received something special from him that you have on your feet?
Yes, he means a lot to me.
Okay, ma'am. Do you and your boyfriend, Deshawn Longmire, were there plans that y'all had together?
Yes. In the future, we plan to get married and have kids.
Now, of course, while this case has been pending, you know, understandably, life has been on pause while this case is going on,
Right.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do understand that Mr. Longmire has been found guilty
Yes.
of murder. And he's going to be sentenced, maybe today.
Yes.
Now, ma'am, what kind of person can you describe to the jury is Mr. Deshawn Longmire when it comes to being in a relationship with you? What kind of boyfriend is he to you?
He's really respectful, lovable person, cares a lot about me.
Ma'am, do you feel that Deshawn Longmire is somebody that you still need in your life, or you don't need him anymore?
I do need him. I do need him. He been there for me since day one, and it means a lot to me.
We pass the witness, Judge.
All right, any cross?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. You may step down.
Your Honor, defense would call Ms. Chanel Hogan Jones.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you may now give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Go ahead and have a seat. You can move that microphone around. Make sure you speak directly into the microphone. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Ma'am, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Chanel Hogan Jones, CHANEL HOGANJONES.
Now, ma'am, what do you do for a living?
I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business.
Now, ma'am, how do you know the gentleman seated here to my right, Mr. Deshawn Longmire?
My son.
So he is your biological son.
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you a series of exhibits here. I'm going to ask you if you're familiar with these and you recognize what they are.
Yeah.
Do they accurately represent what they purport to show?
Yes.
Have they been altered or changed in any way?
No.
And at this time, we move to admit defendants number 9, 14, 15, 16, 18, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6, 7, 12, 13, and 17. I dropped one. And 11. After tender to opposing counsel.
Judge, may we approach?
Yes. 6, 9, 14, 16, and 18 are admitted.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Uh-huh.
Are the rest withdrawn?
And the rest are not admitted.
May we display these, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you, Ronald. Now, ma'am, please ask you the general question. Whereabouts did Deshawn Longmire grow up? Was it only Louisiana and Houston?
No, he kind of split his childhood growing up. I would say equal proportions. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee. He spent about 6-7 years there, and then we moved to Louisiana, about 6 or 7 years there, and then we're here in Texas.
Okay. I'm going to show you here what's labeled as Defendant's Exhibit number 5. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who is in that picture?
That's his biological father and Deshawn.
Okay. And what is that title that Deshawn's holding up right there?
That's his diploma, his high school diploma.
Okay. And that was in Louisiana?
Yes.
All right. Is that just one of the things that your son has made you proud of, graduating from high school?
Absolutely.
Now, ma'am, has Deshawn grown up as a troubled child who's giving you problems all the time, or how would you describe him to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Very likable, easy to approach. He was just a very friendly person. People like being around because he was just an easy person to be around. Very likable. And that was male and female. He was just easy to get along with.
Now, ma'am, was Deshawn Longmire somebody who was raised in church or raised outside of church?
Absolutely in church.
Okay. I'm going to show you here what's labeled as Defendant's Exhibit number 6. Can you tell us what's going on there in Defendant's Exhibit number 6?
He was being baptized.
And who is that that was assisting him with the baptism?
Well, you can't look at the picture. On one side is the pastor, and then the other side is the pastor's assistant.
And who is that pastor?
Bishop Calvin Clark.
Is that still the same pastor that he has now?
Yes.
Now, how long has he been attending that same church?
About three years.
Now, as far as going to church, period, I guess with you, he's been going all of his life.
All of his life.
Okay. Now, ma'am, in Defense Exhibit number 9, who is there in that picture?
That's me and my son. Me and myself and Deshawn.
Was there any special occasion during this time period where you were taking those pictures?
Yeah, we were taking graduation pictures.
Another time period when he graduated high school?
Yes.
All right. Do you recall when this took place here?
Not really.
It's been a long life with Deshawn.
Yeah, it looks like he was at, it looks like it was a sporting store where he was getting a uniform for baseball or, I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, growing up with Mr. Longmire as your son, has he been someone that's been an active participant in scholastic things, or has he really just kind of been away from school?
No, Deshawn he played a really, really big part in band. He was one of the lead drummers. He's always been in band. He loves percussions and, parades, stuff like that.
Okay. Now, what about his work ethic? did you raise him to be a lazy person, or did you
No.
raise him? How did you raise him regarding his work ethic?
Very disciplined. To be honest with you, Deshawn is an easy learner. He's just smart by nature. I think he got it from his dad because he didn't get it from me. It takes a lot for me to get something. I have to really study. But for Deshawn, he can read something one time and he just picks it up. He's just very keen when it comes to, his work. He was the type of child, I didn't have to tell him to do his homework. He just automatically did it. It would frustrate me because I would never see him do it, but he always brought home the grades. So he just stayed on top of what he needed to do.
Now, who's this in defense exhibit number 14?
That's me and Deshawn.
Right. And defense exhibit number 18.
That's me and Deshawn.
Okay.
Can I?
Okay. Ma'am, I was going to ask you, now during the pendency of this case, you understand that Mr. Longmire has had bond conditions.
Yes.
Now, have you seen him be responsible with those bond conditions and complying and doing what he has to do?
Absolutely.
And has one of those bond conditions been not to have any contact with the family of the complainants?
Yes.
But have you and your son had discussions about the family that was lost here and about this case in general?
Yes, a lot.
And what would you like to say to the family who lost a father, a pastor, a brother?
A lot. One thing that I want to say is that just today, when we were standing out in the hallway, my son told me, he said, "Mom, promise me one thing." And I said, "Okay, Deshawn." He said, "Will you promise me to find some kind of way to let the family know that I'm sorry?" He said, "Just make peace with them." He said, "They might not receive your mom." He said, "But just say something, just so they know." He said, "Because I don't know if they're going to allow me to say anything." He said, "But if you could just say something, just to kind of like bring some type of closure for them." And he just really wanted me to know, he wanted the family to know that he really, really.
Judge, I'm gonna object to hearsay.
Sustain.
Okay.
All right, ma'am.
What I can say as far as the family is that I can't imagine, and I'm truly sorry. I feel so bad that this happened. I do. I hate that it happened. I really do. I just know that my son was on his way one way, and so was the pastor.
Your Honor, objection to relevance.
Sustain.
Okay, ma'am. Now you do understand, ma'am, that your son Deshawn Longmire was found guilty of first-degree murder by this jury.
Yes.
And you do understand, ma'am, that now it's going to be up to the same jury to decide how much time in prison your son will do.
I do.
Now, ma'am, can you please let the ladies and gentlemen of the jury know, from your opinion, from your side, as his mother, do you feel Deshawn Longmire is the kind of person that you still need in your life? Or is he the kind of person that should just be put away? He's not needed anymore by you or your family.
I just lives that impact. And he's my baby. And I know he's a good person. And I don't just say that just because he's my baby, but because the people's lives that he's already impacted. How he cares for people. He's always rooting for the underdog. He's the type of person, if you see a bullying someone, he's the type of person to go to the aid of the person that's being bullied.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to narrative.
Sustain. Q&A, please.
Ma'am, are you ready to accept the decision of the jury? Although you may not want to, you understand your son's life is in their hands. Your Honor, we'll go ahead and pass the witness.
All right. Any cross?
Just briefly, Judge.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jones. And if you need a minute. Were you able to sit in the courtroom during this trial?
I would have liked to be here.
Okay. But you didn't see any of the evidence in this case, is that right?
No.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect?
Nothing further.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. You may have a seat. All right.
And
Call your
defense
next
rest,
witness.
Judge.
Defense rest. All right. Any rebuttal from the state?
No, Your Honor, state resting closes.
All right.
And defense rest, of course.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time you have heard all of the evidence that's going to be presented during this second phase, the punishment phase of trial. Just like last time, we will need to put together the charge, the jury charge, the punishment charge, and then after that's done, I will read the charge. Both sides will have an opportunity to do closing arguments, and we'll turn it over to you for deliberations. It's already 4 o'clock, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dismiss you all for today. I'm gonna ask you to return tomorrow at the same time like we've been doing, 9 o'clock. And once y'all leave this afternoon, we will complete the charge, get that all finished, so that the first thing we'll do when you get in the morning, just like we did today, I'll read it, both sides have to do their closing arguments, and then we'll turn it over to you for deliberations, okay? Remember my admonishments: do not discuss anything that you've heard or seen amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Do not do any type of individual research, and we will see you all tomorrow. All right, for the jury. All right, everyone may have a seat. All right, we're at recess until tomorrow morning at 9. Councils have already have a draft of the charge. Let's look at it before you leave. Yes.
He's gonna get processed in today. Do you want him to be dressed out back in regular clothes tomorrow or in the orange jumpsuit?
I would rather regular clothes, I think, tomorrow.